It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business podcast.
So we're here at MJ Unpacked at the Mandalay Bay in Vegas. I'm here with Brendon Lynch of Jushi Holdings. Brendon, thanks for being here with the Talking Hedge.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So what is Jushi and how did you get into the game personally?
Yeah, so I actually just joined the company 2 months ago. I came from a purely kind of traditional retail background. Spent 17 years running the global retail business for Anthropologie.
Oh, wow.
Started with them 1995. They had 2 stores. There was like 20 of us in the business, about a $6 million business. 17 years later, left the company as the head of global retail with 175 stores globally in 4 different countries, billion-dollar business, 6,000 employees. So pretty incredible 17 years. Left them and spent about 2 years doing the same thing for David Yurman in New York, and then for the last 5 years was the CEO of Rudy's Barbershop.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's quite the transition.
Quite a transition.
Yeah.
So,
how did that whole pivot thing work out? So you were at Rudy's Barbershop in Seattle. That's where I'm from.
Yep.
Kind of interesting.
Yep.
Very weird.
I know, right?
How did that whole thing roll out? Where you went from a barbershop to cannabis? Talk to me a little bit about that transition, because I think it's tangible to a lot of people, not only the investor audience that's listening, but the entrepreneurial audience as well, that are looking to kind of pivot from their own barbershop into cannabis or whatever else, that have maybe the not Wall Street, but corporate background experience or whatever it is.
Sure,
I think there's a lot of transferable skills that you are sort of leading by. You're leading the charge, and you're an inspiration to a lot of people, I think, that are listening, because that's not a normal progression.
It's not a typical path.
You're
right.
Right. So maybe you can kind of explain that. How did that happen? Was it a series of fortunate events? Were you lucky, or was it focused?
It was pretty intentional. So when I left Rudy's, I conducted, really for the second time in my career, kind of a proper search, and was looking at kind of all things wellness. So wellness concepts, fitness concepts, healthcare concepts, and cannabis. And cannabis kind of kept pulling me, and spoke with a few companies. Generally was finding a lot of really well capitalized companies, very successful, but often was finding that there wasn't really a really strong management team kind of built around the founder. And that was one of the points of differentiation that attracted me to Jushi. Is Jim, our founder and CEO, put together an incredible management team with really diverse backgrounds, some retail, some non-retail, some cannabis. And I think it's cool, because I'd say 80% of what I do is what I've always done. It's about customer experience and employee experience and culture and store design and operations and all of that. But there's about 20% or so that's new to me because of the business, because of the industry, the product, that I'm not able to apply all the same things directly. So I have to be creative about kind of how we solve some of these problems. So it's fun to be challenged again and have kind of new problems to solve. And it's been interesting, because as you said, there's been this kind of flee from fashion, where you have a lot of these fashion retailers that are saying, okay, it's kind of not so exciting anymore, and not a lot of great places to do it, and to be able to do that in cannabis is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Maybe you could kind of explain a little bit about your method of figuring out where you're going to go. Being a multi-state operator, it had a huge push for investors leading up to 2019 during the pandemic, creating some opportunities with either distressed assets on the West Coast or new emerging markets. You guys seem to be more focused on the emerging markets. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of explain, as best as you can, how you kind of make those decisions on where you go and why you've chosen the locations you have?
Yeah. So right now we have 25 locations. We have a couple in Massachusetts. We have 15, soon to be 18 in Pennsylvania, 1, soon to be 2 in Virginia, 4 in Illinois, 2 in California, and then a bunch more next year. And it's been a combination of acquisitions, like the one we just did in Massachusetts with Nature's Remedy, which gave us 2 new stores and a grow facility, and then the one we just announced here in Nevada with the Apothecarium. So it's been kind of a blend of acquisitions and then getting awarded licenses and opening new locations. And to your point, it's another interesting thing coming from my background. You kind of start off in those kind of top tier, kind of sexier cities like New York and San Francisco and LA and places like that. But what I think we found is that those places are in most cases well saturated. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't be there, but I think we have to think about how to be there strategically. California is a great example of that. We know we want to be and should be in California, but we're going to do it the right way, the smart way, strategically. We don't need to have 20 locations in the first 2 years. We started off with 2. We'll have another 2 next year. So yeah, I think it's about understanding kind of where the opportunity is, where the customers are, and where there's an opening for us. That makes sense.
How do you fund your expansions? Are you using companies like IIPR for sale-leaseback options, being that lending is very difficult and or incredibly expensive? Mm-hmm. How do you make that choice of where to go with financing and ultimately what route do you go with? Yeah. So just kind of getting involved in that part of the process. We have an incredible IR team and finance team and obviously Jim and John, our president, that have been really kind of leading the effort on fundraising. But we're raising capital. So all of these investments, both in real estate and in other ways, it's all through kind of additional raised capital and capital we currently have in place. What about the valuations of some of the brands and other acquisitions you've made? I've seen Select go out and make $800, $900 million acquisitions in Oregon that has way too many farmers, and I'm not sure that those valuations are realistic. I've seen what Aurora and Canopy have done with the $1 billion and $3 billion write-offs. How do you ensure that the investor capital coming in isn't going to malinvestment?
Yeah, again, Jim's background is in finance. Founded and sold a couple of significant hedge funds, and he understands kind of what that should look like and where the opportunities are, and thus far has done very well. So yes, I think between like Jim and John and the rest of the team, that have been very smart and strategic about the acquisitions we made, and at the valuations that make sense. And we've gotten some really good deals both in Massachusetts and in Nevada as well.
Are you worried about commercial real estate prices being the highest they've ever been?
I think that there's again, we're looking and where we're considering locations. We're finding deals that are pretty opportunistic. So we don't necessarily also need to be on at Main and Main. A lot of the customer will come to us as long as it's still convenient enough and not too far out of the way. We don't have to pay that premium at Main and Main. We can kind of be off Main and Main a bit as long as it still makes sense for the customer.
Beyond Hello retail store, I haven't been to, but it seems like you guys picked that up because of the user experience that it provides. In my opinion is that people don't really care about products, they care about the experience, and that could be a restaurant. So people are going to go out and the food could be great, but if you have a great experience, they're going to really remember that more than their palate.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Absolutely.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. How are you providing that user experience in order to get people to come back when there are other places to go?
For sure, yeah. I mean, honestly, that's one of the things that most excited me about this, this industry and specifically Jushi. Having a team around me that can, that can help me that can do this with me is, there's really kind of no one that's really kind of like set the standard of what cannabis retail should look like. There are plenty of great dispensaries that have really great experiences, including some bars, but there's really no one that's really kind of set the standard yet. So, the idea of being part of a team that, that can do that and really kind of define, what does cannabis retail look like? What does that experience look like? Is super exciting. And, I think it comes down to really kind of, two things. One is to be able to create an unimagined customer experience in cannabis, and then kind of alongside that, very importantly, to create an unimagined employee experience in cannabis so that we can find the best talent, keep the best talent, and support the growth in the future. So yeah, I think it's really all about, you have a customer that really wants a very fast, efficient experience. So they want curbside delivery, curbside pickup, they want delivery, they want express pickup. So how do you serve that customer in a very fast and efficient way, but also still give them, a taste of the brand, and not have it be purely transactional. And then you have another customer who really wants that in-store experience. And to your point, it's maybe as important, or if not more, than the actual product and the price of the product. So looking at ways to really engage that customer and give them kind of the full expression of the Beyond Hello brand, in the store. And that's really kind of been the initial focus over my last couple of months.
It can be really intimidating walking into a store and seeing
Yeah.
2,000 SKUs. So California specifically had a huge ramp up with COVID and the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Still remaining essential business, but utilizing delivery. We don't have that in Washington State, but delivery did ramp up significantly during the pandemic. How do you offset that experience, the user experience for the retail shop when people are going online?
Yeah, so online we launched last March, so March of 2020, just in time. Things were just kind of locking down, so the timing couldn't have been better. And it's been incredibly successful. Dre and his team, our chief creative director, did an incredible job at building a platform that's intuitive, that looks good, that allows us to have ratings and reviews. And really gives the customer the opportunity to really kind of start their journey online before they even come into the store to pick it up or shop some more. So that business has grown considerably. It represents almost 2/3 of our orders now start online. And when we first launched, I think we did $30,000 in the first day. We have record-setting days and weeks every week, and had our first $1 million day last Friday.
Oh, wow.
So $1 million pre-orders.
That's
so
awesome.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So which is great again, because it gives us the opportunity in the stores to be able to serve that customer fast and efficiently, because that's what they want typically. But it allows us that time to really focus on the customer who wants a longer period of time with us in the store, particularly as it relates to education.
Bud turnover is crazy, and I'm not talking about the great resignation that we're seeing now.
Yeah.
That's making that situation even worse.
Yeah.
So with the great resignation, how you mentioned employees and teamwork and everything is really critical to your success.
Yeah.
I'm going to name off 7 things, keeping with the leaf.
Yeah.
There's 7 things here I'm going to list off. You tell me which one you think is the most important in terms of employees. Trust, empower, appreciate, mentor, involve, challenged, or on a mission. So Team Icon is the acronym. If people trust their employees, empower them, appreciate them, mentor them, challenge them, and then make them feel like they're on a mission, that Team Icon will essentially make them be a high morale, as well as high sales, as well as keeping cheeks in seats and not the turnover. So when you hear trust, empower, appreciate, mentor, involve, challenge, and on a mission, which one makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up?
That's a tough one. I mean, obviously all so important, but I'd probably say involve is probably the most important. People want to feel like they're part of something.
Absolutely.
They want to be heard. They want to be recognized. They want to be able to contribute. They want to have responsibility. And it's interesting, over all these years in this business, usually when you lose someone, it's not because of money. It's not because of benefits. And those things are all important, of course.
It's because of a boss.
But it's because of a boss. Yeah, people work for people, for sure. And it's something that I value, very significantly, and Jushi does as well. Is how do you give people that ownership and that responsibility and let them feel involved? It's critical.
Yeah. Well, Jim's a good dude. You're spoiled to be able to work for him.
I really am. Yeah. I mean, he honestly, again, I mean, the moment I met him in a half hour, I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's do it. So it's been great. First 2 months in, it's been terrific.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
You're at MJ Unpacked. What are you looking to get out of it?
It's my first time here. It's been super interesting. The whole business has been the last couple of months. Learning a lot. I walked the floor yesterday. A lot of it not directly applicable. A lot of it was cultivation and equipment and things like that. But always fascinating to see. But I was able to see, meet some good vendors, some of our software vendors, and partnerships that we already have. Saw some interesting kind of store design and fixturing, folks as well. Today here at Unpacked has been even more applicable. There's been a lot of obviously product and branding and more kind of retail focused folks. So yeah, it was really about I think learning, meeting some new people, networking with existing vendors, and just kind of continue to build those relationships and learn.
If people want to learn a little bit more about Jushi, whether it's potential investors or strategic partners or just somebody that's in the state and wants to learn more, where are you guys at and how they get a hold of you personally?
Yeah, so jushico.com is our website, and if you go to the leadership team, management team, you'll find me there.
Okay.
And I'm also on LinkedIn, Brendon Lynch.
All right, we'll put Brendon Lynch's contact information for LinkedIn in the description, so check the show notes, as well as Jushi Holdings. We'll put that website out there. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I want to thank my guest, Brendon Lynch. He is the EVP of Retail for Jushi Holdings. Brendon, thanks for being on Talking Hedge.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.
Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.